Toasty. Why are you so pretty?
Hello there, darlings. Welcome back to Roots and Refuge Farm. This is the first regular vlog I've shot in a little while. I've been dealing with all the stuff with the animals, and tonight we're not dealing with that. Tonight we're gonna go out to the garden, which is a total mess, by the way. We're just gonna chat and hang out. Today, it feels like fall on the farm. Okay, well, I said we were gonna talk about the animals, but there's a little calf over here that I just wanna go say hi to. So, one little peep at the animals never hurt, right? I'm not messing with him, Mama. I'm just showing him to the world. They'll all think he's as perfect as you do. This is not Fern and Fern's little baby, little Deb. This is another calf which was born a couple of days ago. As if the last 2 weeks of my life wasn't overwhelming enough, we needed another calf. This was kind of one of those precautionary things where we're kind of like stagger breeding and not expecting them both to take at the same time, but they did. And Fern is still in isolation. She's doing a lot better, but we're keeping her separate because she is getting over that case of mastitis. She does have a sore that's kind of open, so we're flushing that and treating her and keeping her in like the hospital, which is just the barn stall. That's Helen. That's Helen's new bull calf, which came on maybe one of the most overwhelming days of my life when I moved my son into his dorm room. And then we came home and we also had a new calf on top of a cow in the hospital stall, and a sheep operation, which felt like it was going sideways. Turns out it was very normal, and even very experienced people were dealing with it. But oh my goodness. I'm saying this, I'm not being facetious. Please pray for me. Like, this has quite literally, I'm not exaggerating. This has been one of the most trying seasons of my entire life, like this summer. And it has been so good. And one day, I know this to be true because I know how life works. One day, I'm gonna look back on this summer and it is gonna feel like a turning point into wisdom and any number of good things. In the middle of it, it has felt like being crushed. Honestly. That's honestly where I've been. And I'm laughing because what else do you do even? I talk sometimes about the burden of abundance, and you know, there have been a lot of hard things this summer. There's been a lot of commitment and demand. Been a lot of transition as far as like life seasons go, and then on top of that there has been the beautiful, incredible burden of abundance. We had 2 healthy calves this week, which is an incredible thing, but it's just been a lot. You know what would make me so happy is if I was eating a fig right now. I don't think these are ready. I did get 3 figs this week off my trees up in the orchard, but these were planted later. I will have figs on these trees, but I don't get to eat them today. Same here. Got lots of little baby fruits. My garden has completely fallen to the wayside. I've had lots of comments lately of people being like, I really miss your garden tours. Same, girl. I miss my garden tours too. I miss my garden. It's been a wild couple of weeks, and it's August. Actually, I want to read something to you guys. Look at this. So this is a mess. Well, the whole thing's a mess, actually. But this particular part of the mess, I love it. I love this. I love you, sweet potato vine. You're doing exactly what I hoped you would do. So I wrote something years ago about the August garden. It, to this day, remains one of my favorite things I've ever written. And I have this idea. I want to do like a really artistic reel, like taking beautiful shots with my camera of the different areas of the garden and voice over this. Maybe I'll do it by the end of August. We'll see. I think about it every time I come down my driveway. Okay, here it is. I posted on Instagram like years ago, and when I still lived in Arkansas, I had took a picture of the garden. I just screenshotted it. She's weedy and wayward. Won't hear a word of direction from nobody. She's beautiful in the way that wild things are. The kind of beauty you know you don't stand a chance of taming. She's a lover with one foot out the door. She loved you well and fed you sumptuously, but no matter how hard you love her back, you know she won't stay. This is the garden in August, the unfettered earth which grows with a vengeance, splitting at the seams with dried flowers and enough seed to feed my children's children. Loving her will explode your mind with wonder and break your heart all at the same time, and even still, I swan dive into this Beulah land every time. Just to see the blossoms and taste the fruits is worth every time I have to watch her go. My garden is thoroughly in the throes of that right now. And as I said, this has been, I don't think I have language for it yet. We moved Jackson into his dorm on Sunday. And if you haven't been here long enough to like know me, hi, I'm Jess. I became a mom when I was 19 years old. I had Jackson, 11:30 at night. And I had really long hair down to like my waist. And it wasn't because I particularly liked long hair. It was because I was really broke and I didn't have enough money to get haircuts. And I remember like the last 2 months of my pregnancy just wearing it in this tight knot on the back of my head. It was so heavy that I got headaches. And this nurse came in at like 3 in the morning, and I had dozed a little bit and woken up, and I remember waking up and I was sitting there in the bed just like staring at my son, and I was 19, and I was brushing my hair, like this long hair, and I remember this nurse coming in and looking at me, and she goes, "Man, you're a beautiful woman with all that hair." And it was the first time in my life somebody had ever called me a woman. And I remember thinking like I became a mother and a woman in the same set of a few hours. And moving Jackson into the next season of his life has proved to be a little bit of a struggle for me, because I've never been a woman without him. And it's definitely been a lot. Look at the little guinea family. They're little bad monsters, keep getting in my garden. We're going to put a fence up before next season. And I'm so glad to have them because they help so much with the insects, but aren't they funny? There's actually one less than there was. I don't know if we lost one or if it has wandered somewhere and maybe is not with its family. Look at this mess. All the mint that went crazy is all blooming, which means now it's going to be everywhere else until the end of time. The rogue asparagus growing all over the entire farm. I feel like certain areas of my life right now are such a mess, but even in the chaos, they're just delightful and fruitful, and I'm not even mad at it. This is actually what I wanted to come harvest some of. So these are habanada peppers, and I was actually thinking about these this morning. I really love these peppers. They're very fruity. So one of the things that I really don't like about peppers is that, well, the ones that are very hot make me cry and get the hiccups, and I don't love that experience. And it makes me sad because I actually really like the flavor of them. Like some of the really fruity but spicy peppers like habaneros or sugar rush peach peppers. Like I love when they have that like fruity tropical flavor, but I just can't handle that much heat. I enjoy spicy food, but I just have a limit where it becomes physically painful. And I know some people, their threshold is just a lot higher than mine, and that's awesome. I envy that, you know, but I can't do it. So I really love habanada peppers because they are habanero peppers that don't have the heat, but they have that really delightful, like kind of fruity, almost tropical-ish flavor, but still peppery. I'm not really selling it. They're good. So I made this thing, and I'm gonna make a video for this over on the farmer's table. I made this like fermented pepper, chili pepper, garlic, herb honey. So if you've ever seen this, You can take just garlic cloves and pour honey over them and leave them on the counter and ferment them for a couple of weeks and then put them in the fridge. And it makes the honey really like runny and thin, liquidy, and it makes it very garlicky. And it's good medicinally to support your immune system because garlic is very good for your immune system. But this chili pepper garlic herb honey, it's got onions in it. It's very flavorful, so it's kind of got the same consistency, but think more hot honey. And I have been on a dang kick with it. I have been grilling chicken and putting all of these peppers and garlic that's been fermented in honey and some of the honey over the chicken, and it is so good. So I'm going to make a video about it, but I'm thinking what I would like to do is take some Sugar Rush peach peppers because I really do like the flavor, but I would not be able to enjoy it if it was too hot. And I want to mix it with some habanadas and do another batch that I'm hoping to lend more of those like fruity pepper flavors to. So I want to pick some of these. So as mentioned, we moved Jackson into his dorm on Sunday, and he has a great roommate. He's at the University of South Carolina, which is a really, really cool story. The Cliff's Notes being that when Jackson was about 14, he started saying that he wanted to do international business. And, you know, at the time, I don't even think he had a real grid for what that was. He had started learning Japanese. We were homeschooling at the time, and he started just with like a free app learning Japanese, and really had a passion for Japanese culture. And even when we moved here, you know, he had to take Spanish for school whenever he started going to the school, whenever we moved, but he continued learning Japanese. And after moving here, we found out that the University of South Carolina had the best program in the country for international business. I was on a call with a brand that I work with that has seeds, and the girl that does their media, I was talking to her and she was like, oh, you live near Columbia, I went to college there. And I'm like, really? I thought you said you were from New England. And she said, I am, but USC has the best program for international business in the country, and that's what I got my degree in. And this was like right before Jackson's senior year, so we ended up looking into it. We toured USC one time. We never looked at any other schools. And he was like, Mom, this is where I want to go to school. So we applied, and he was accepted into the pre-business program. We had no clue at the time that it was so competitive. And he got in, and it has been a really cool story of just the door swinging wide for him, which is exactly what you hope for your children. And I am so proud of him. I was not prepared for how difficult this season was going to be for me. And he and I have been really open in our communication about it. Like, he understands, because I don't want my sadness to put pressure on him. But I also want him to know how much I love him and how proud I am. And so it's been a lot of open communication. I've been a little bit of a basket case. It probably started back in May that I started really struggling with just like, oh my goodness. But, you know, I was so young when I had him, and I have this very vivid memory of like sitting in the hospital bed, you know, 12 hours after he's born, with him as a bundle in my lap, and like counting on my fingers and being like, okay, he won't be a grown-up until 2024. And at the time, that felt like an entire lifetime away, because it was. It was like literally the entire span of my lifetime at that time. And so I keep saying, as silly as it is, why did no one tell me how fast this was going to go by? Of course, every single person told me, but I just couldn't grasp it. But his first week is going very well. And I think he's going to just completely excel at this season of his life. And he's only an hour away. And so as far as babies launching, I know that I don't have it nearly as hard as a lot of people do. But it has been a lot to process for me. This is actually the first thing I've done this week since he left. As far as like fooling with the garden, I've been out here a couple of times just piddling But I haven't been like, ooh, I want to make something. I've been mostly wallowing. I say I've been wallowing, but I really haven't been wallowing. I've been mostly just trying to like breathe deeply and stay grounded. Ezra broke his arm this week. Not a huge deal. I mean, I have 5 sons and we live on a farm. People get hurt. He was at a friend's house and was playing on an electric scooter, just being an 11-year-old boy, as one does. And sustained an injury. It's handled. We just got the cast on today. And also dealing with the lambs and all of that. I have some ideas. But you know what else happened, which is awesome? This morning I woke up and it was 63 degrees outside and it felt like fall. We got our slab poured for our shop, which is exciting. Jeremiah is thrilled and that gives me so much life. So it's been a lot, but sometimes I try to remind myself, even when it feels a little crushing and things feel like a whole lot and I feel overwhelmed, I remind myself how wonderful it is to be able to feel things, how wonderful it is to be alive and having this incredible human experience. Bear, do you want to say hi to our friends? No? Yes? I've been thinking a lot lately through all of this process of the crushing summer, as we'll call it. The last video I posted, you know, I was sharing the process of bringing some lambs back that I found kind of in a rough situation and just really openly sharing the kind of suckiness of that situation. And it has taken me the last 7 years of doing content to actually be able to just boldly be like, yeah, here's this. I made this mistake. Here's this thing. This sucks. Here's the not romantic part. Here's the part that you could criticize me for. Here's the part that shows my humanity, my imperfection. But if there's one thing that I've taken out of the summer of 2024, the summer that I counted on fingers about an entire childhood ago, the thing that I've taken is that life is short. And the very best thing that you can do for any relationship that you have is show up with your whole self and tell the truth. Don't pander. Don't tell people what they want to hear. Don't make excuses. Don't people please. Because the thing that I've had to process a lot with my son being in this next stage, and I mean, I say all this stuff and I know that we will maintain relationship. Like, we're very close. Like, and I know that there's some of the best is yet to come. I mean, like, there's so much to look forward to. I'm really not coming from, like, a place of not really understanding the situation. But I've had to come to terms with the fact this childhood is over. And part of what I'm dealing with is the, oh my gosh, realization that in 9 more years, my baby will be in the same place. And that means that there are childhoods that are, you know, ticking down between now and then, all of my children. And I think of all the times that I chose other people to try to keep them happy instead of taking that time with my kids. And given the choice now, I don't care how mad I would have made somebody out to choose my kids. I just didn't know. I didn't know how little time there was. And it makes me think in my life, like, where am I walking on eggshells because people are reactive? Like, where am I not being fully transparent because it might upset somebody? I don't care. Like, given, and this is what happens. And I've looked at, like, people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s before and been like, man, they don't give a crap. Like, they don't care about upsetting people. And I'd be like, when do you get that card? This is it. This is when you get it. I got mine. And on one hand, there has been so much grief for me. But on the other hand, I feel like I have gained this boldness that comes with the realization that life is short and you really only get one shot at it. And when you hear that over and over and over again, and it's cliche, it does not pierce your heart. But the moment that you realize that it is absolutely true, it changes everything. So, there are my thoughts. Thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight, the last 7 years, every single day that you do. I really, really appreciate the relationship. that is here. I bless you. Until next time.